This evening, Jamie and I decided the room's about half as full after we've won 3 games in a row, as it might have been if we hadn't. So that's good. It's good to see. It's lovely for you all to come out and see us. I was going to give Paul the opportunity to do the walk of shame down the middle of the round of applause, but he decided against that. He came marching to the front. So fairly straightforward evening. It's mainly about you getting the opportunity to ask some questions of, I'm sure, mainly the manager, but also myself and Jamie, if there's anything more off-field that you want to discuss or ask any questions about. But I thought, just as an opening gambit, I might just have a quick conversation with Paul about where we are, how we're getting on, and that type of thing. And I think we're going to stop we'll do 25 minutes or so and stop for the food, and then do a bit more afterwards, if that's all right. So, first of all, go on. A round of applause for our manager, Paul Kelly. Probably open up with a very straightforward question. We were talking about this earlier today, but 29 games in, how do you see the season so far?
Yeah, really positive. I think to still be there or thereabouts is positive on the players. The players have been excellent. We obviously had a decent start. I think we went 12 unbeaten. We drew a lot of them. We had a bit of a difficult period around about Christmas time, just after that, and then to go and get 9 points in the last 3 games was a remarkable effort for the players, so it's put us back up there in a real positive manner.
Stupid game, isn't it, when you consider, I think we were no winning 5, and then you bounce back with 9 points out of 9. It just shows, well, we know how mad this league is, we talk about it quite a lot, but also how mad football is, really.
Yeah, it is, and it's frustrating at times because it's so inconsistent, but that's not just us, that's every team in this division. You go and win 5 or 6 and you're back up there, you go and lose 5 and 6 and you can start looking behind yourself. It's a mad league, it really is, but we're hopeful that we've came over that little sticky patch and we've got a tough month, there's no two ways about it, and I'm happy to sit here and say that we'll have a better idea come the 1st of March where we're going to be.
You've said to me a few times that the inconsistency both of individuals from all teams and of teams overall is something that you haven't, it's still kind of surprised you can't quite get your head around somehow?
Yeah, it does, and that's probably an unfair assessment of the players because I try and be honest with them. I've never been in their situation. I've never worked all day to then come and listen to a Scottish and Irishman shouting non-stop at them and expect high intensity non-stop. So it's difficult. Sometimes I need to take a step back and actually realise that these players, they love playing for this football club, but it's not the livelihood. That's the be-all and end-all. They're part-time footballers, they've got kids to feed, they've got mortgages to pay, and those bills come from their main source, which is their work. So I've got huge admiration for them. I think they deserve huge credit. I'm still learning myself. I'm still trying to adapt to things like that. But we're on a decent way at the moment. We're going all right, and as I said, we'll see how the next probably 5-6 games go.
You are very respectful of that human element of your players. You're obviously very protective of your players, but you are very respectful of the fact it isn't the be-all and end-all. I'm sure it's a little bit frustrating at times as well, but you place great importance on looking after the people as well as the football element.
Yeah, I think that's vitally important. I think that we do forget sometimes they're human beings. We're all human beings and we all bleed the same and all that carry on that you want to talk about. So I try and protect them as much as I possibly can, and obviously we went through a bit, as I keep saying, through a bit. And Radcliffe away in particular, they took a bit of pelters from the stands. Leamington away, they took a bit, and I always try and, especially when we lose games, I always try and be the one that will stand there in front of them and try and take the stick and protect the dressing room as much as we can. And recently, in the last probably 2 or 3 months, I don't know if people have probably not noticed, but I try and do a quick clap when we've won games to acknowledge supporters, and then basically get out of there. I've had my time celebrating with supporters as a player, and so I just let the players get on with that. But yeah, I'm probably overprotective at times. I try and treat them like, listen, Andy Williams is older than me, but I try and treat everyone like my own kids. I try and protect them as much as I can, and Runes is the same, but don't be fooled. That doesn't mean that internally we're not getting after them, and obviously at times a lot of time, I'm probably too honest at times, I probably speak my mind too much, but that's just the way I am, and I think the players have reacted to it. We're really pleased with most of the season, to be honest. We're really pleased with their intensity in training and stuff like that. So as it stands, we're pleased where we're at, and we need to try and kick on, to be honest.
Obviously, you like to try and put the core of your squad together over the summer, but I read somewhere, it really surprised me that 8 of the starting lineup on Tuesday night at South Shields also started the first game of the season against South Shields, which I think when you think of the changes you tend to see at this level, I think it's quite a remarkable thing really in some ways.
Yeah, that's another thing that I'm still trying to learn, the amount of change that you go through. Obviously when you've got players on contract, non-contract, there's no windows, so literally there's change from week to week. I remember last year we played against Bishop Stortford. From the first game to the second game, they had 2 players in the full squad that was there from the first game, so it's constant changing. But I think trying to have that continuity is important. We kept a decent build from last year with, off the top of my head, Randy Williams, Alex Barbos, Aaron Skinner, Jason Cowley and Kyle Hawkins and players like that. So I didn't want to constantly change and I've probably been guilty of that throughout the season at times. I was really pleased with the squad we built, and we did build a really good squad. And if you've got a good squad, then I always thought if players aren't performing, I've got players that can come in and hopefully perform instead of them. And last year I don't think we quite had that depth, but this year we do. And I've been really pleased with the players, and I think the best thing for me is the last couple of games I've been able to come in before the game and pick the same team. Consistency levels have been there, but that can change very quickly. As I said in quite a lot of post-match interviews, a week's a long time in football, a very long time. If you look at Radcliffe compared to 7 days later, we're 9 points better off. So yeah, the consistency of trying to pick the same team has always been there, but it's never been as easy as that.
Talking specifically about recruitment, obviously for your first summer financially, to say you were hamstrung is probably a slight understatement, inverted commas, slight understatement, but just putting that aside, what did you learn in that first season that then influenced and shaped your recruitment more sort of over the course of last summer? Were there certain characteristics that you suddenly knew more about than you knew potentially?
Yeah, I don't think recruitment changes in terms of, obviously it changes the quality of player you can bring in, but the characteristics will never change. Whether we've got 50 quid to spend or whether we've got $500,000 to spend, I'll always look for the characteristics of that hard work, character, desire, somebody with a bit of personality. And I won't come away from that. The first year was obviously difficult. We just made the decision to move everyone on, so we started from scratch, but that was my decision, so that was one that I took, and I just wanted to build my own squad from scratch. It was my very first job in management. If I was going to fail, I wanted to fail the way I wanted to do it. If I was going to be successful, it was because of the way I'd done it. So I think last year we overachieved. I think we've done really, really well. We're still there, albeit we had to win 17-0 or something in the last game of the season, but we're still there, which was credit to the players again. And I think everything's driven by, as me and you speak about a lot, everything's driven by a football pitch, and we benefited as a football club last year for what the players done for the club.
And just in terms of the pressure of playing for Hereford, if you like, do you have to take that into account when you're looking at players? Obviously, in some cases I'm sure you don't know how they'll react until they're actually here, but it is a very different sort of level of pressure and expectation playing here, with the greatest respect, than playing at Peterborough Sports or somewhere like that, I guess.
Yeah, there's loads that comes into consideration. Listen, if I could go and get ex-EFL players, then I would, because this should be an EFL club one day. So we want to try and bring players in that, as you said, can cope at this football club. There's loads that goes into it. There's location. We obviously train in Birmingham to try and get a bigger pool of players. We have a brilliant fan base that it's that mentality switch as well, because we go to Peterborough Sports, for example, and this isn't being disrespectful to them by all means, like Peterborough Sports and Farsley, was it, or they had 195?
191, I think.
191. So it's the mentality of you must have the motivation to play in front of that, because that's what you're going to have to play against. And then 4 days later you could be playing in front of 3,500 when you come back to Edgar Street. So it's a mentality of that, but there's also the flip side of that. You must be able to cope with. So teams will come here and absolutely love playing here. Peterborough Sports will love playing in front of 3,500 fans. So this is everybody's cup final. They come here, and I've learned that, and I'm still learning that, and that's maybe where the inconsistency comes at times. But no, the supporters and the numbers we've been getting have been incredible, and the most important thing is for me that it's stayed at a decent level. We haven't seen massive dips in attendances, and that's all credit to the players on the pitch.
Random stat for the night is that Farsley versus Peterborough Sports, at Farsley the attendance was 191, and Peterborough Sports v Farsley at Peterborough was 191. So that's a random coincidence for the night, but we were marvelling at that in the office the other day while we were trying to work out how they're competitive. I think that's probably enough waffle from the two of us for now. So before we enter sort of 15 minutes of questions, before we have a break for some food and for you to charge your glasses, so if anybody wants to raise a hand and ask the first question of the night, feel free to do so. Short night, isn't it?
Wondering, after the Radcliffe game, you sort of initiated you were going to bring 4 or 5 players in. I know things have turned for the better since. Are you still looking to bring a couple of new faces in?
We are, yeah, and I stand by what I said. I think we've obviously won 3 games in a row, which is great, but I still believe in strengthening, in a position of strength, and right now we're trying to strengthen. I'll be brutally honest, it's ridiculously tough out there. It really is. There's I'm sure we're going to get into more detail further down the line, but it's a very competitive market, put it that way. It's really difficult to, and I won't, listen, there's money in the budget, so let's make that clear, but I won't be, I'm trying to protect the longevity of the football club from people I've spoke to before. Hereford were very easy to deal with. We were soft in terms of stuff we gave players and promises we made, and I won't do that, and I'm trying to change that. I'm trying to change that mentality. Maybe it's because I'm Scottish and I'm tight, but that's the mentality we're trying to change. We don't want to be a football club where it's on the player to demand what they get. We want to be, listen, we're a brilliant football club at this level. We've got to be in control of what we pay players and what we think we pay them. Just to give you an idea into what we look at when we look at for recruitment, it will be, first of all, we'll think about their age, have they got a resale value, have they played in the EFL, have they experienced their injury history. So there's loads that goes into it. It's not literally, well, he's done alright the last couple of weeks, shall we get him in? So there's loads that goes into it, because we have to be very careful with how we spend and what we spend. But to answer your question, yeah, we are still looking. We are probably still need another striker. Probably potentially another one in the wide areas, and listen, I've looked for 18 months for a central midfielder that's 6'4" and can boss the midfield. They're very hard to come by, and if anybody's got any ideas, give me a shout.
Is Bartley still in the squad?
Ryan his loan expires next week. So Ryan missed out the last couple of squads, and the reason being is we basically, well, I made the decision I want to give our players as much of Aaron Skinner, if I'm being honest, I want to give. So I don't want Ryan taking up the minutes that Aaron Skinner could potentially get, because Aaron Skinner can be really important for us in the run-in. Ryan's loan ends next week, so the quicker we get minutes into Aaron Skinner, then the better. Ryan's been excellent for us. He's came in and played in a number of positions. We brought Ryan back because we missed Mark Preston, but Ryan will return next week. I think his loan runs out.
One of the things I think after that Radcliffe game you talked about, you were hopeful we got a player over the line, but then that situation changed over the weekend. We won't obviously go into details about the player, but it was less about the finance. It was more about the longer term deal that he was offered elsewhere, wasn't it? If that makes sense.
Yeah, a bit of both. He was offered someone at the last. Listen, that's probably my inexperience of speaking before the ink was dry, so I'll learn from that. People need to understand as well, for example, the Radcliffe one, I'm doing an interview 20-25 minutes straight after the final whistle, so emotions are raw. I'm still trying to learn with that as well. But yeah, someone come in last minute, offered them an 18-month deal, something that I felt as if I wouldn't do at this moment in time, and I wouldn't be rushed into that. So yeah, we missed out on him, and he went to another club on a longer term contract.
Any more questions? Any questions?
Theo Richardson's on loan for the file for the rest of the season. Is there a recall in that contract, or is he here definitely until the end of the season?
No, there's no recall. He'll be here to the end of the season. And I think he's done really well, to be honest. And we probably went from one extreme to the next in terms of Chappie was a giant, and Theo's smaller than average for a goalkeeper. But as agility wise, I think makes up for his lack of height, so to be it. His kicking's been excellent for us. He's a good lad in the dressing room. He's vocal. He's experienced at the level. For those that watched the stream or went to the game on Tuesday night, for example, 20 minutes into the game, he's deliberately went down just to try and slow the game down a bit, or under the cosh a little bit. So it's just those little nuggets of experience that help us, and I've got to say, I think he's been excellent.
You got a message from the physio, didn't you, reassuring you he was all right?
Yeah, James just said to me he was fine, because I normally initiate them, so a lot of the time I'll try and get a message to the goalie just to go down and try and kill the game a little bit. It can be frustrating, I absolutely get that, but it's again, it's those little nuggets that you try and get to do whatever you can to win games of football.
Just you touched on how difficult the market is. Is it possible for you to give us a little bit of an insight of some of, I know you could go for about an hour now, probably, if I set you off here.
Is this recorded?
I was going to say, yeah.
That might be held responsible for.
Yeah, no, it is being recorded, but if you can give us a bit of an overview of it, because it is, well, it continues to blow my mind, and I'm sure you say it blows yours as well.
Yeah, so spoke to a couple of managers that, for example, Southport manager Jim Bentley, there's Paul Holland at Leamington, experienced managers, and they said the last 18 months non-leagues just were ridiculous, which I felt a bit guilty of, because I've only been managing for 18 months, so that wasn't great. But give you an insight to the market. There's a lot of clubs that will pay, how do I say, I don't care, pay cash. Alright, there's a lot of clubs that will do bits on the side. For example, I don't know how many follow other football clubs, and a lot we'll talk about, and we tried to sign a player who they have signed that blew us out the window, to be honest, and that's not a complaint, it's just the realism of where we're at. They've just signed a player, extended a player on a 3.5-year deal, they've given another one 2.5-year deal, so, and that's off the back of what the average 400 crowd. So I think if you're clever enough, you do the maths, you understand what's going on. It's difficult, it really is. We missed out on a player from step 3 who we agreed to sign, and then I think something put it out there, I think it was well publicised, a lad that was at Olive Church that we really liked, but he was promised more money and stuff like that. So you're fighting against clubs that's you don't expect to, clubs that are getting 150, 200 supporters. It's frustrating, but it's as much frustrating for me as it is as the board and these guys and you as the supporters, but that's the reality. And I try my best not to talk about it too much, because it sometimes comes across as an excuse, but I've obviously let Chris into the inside of it and dealing with agents, and I'll send them messages that I've had from agents and screenshots, and I think even his eyes have been opened, and it's frustrating, but I think it is what it is. We've just got to deal with it. I'm not going to complain about it. Listen, we'd all love to be able to go and have no budget. There's some clubs that don't have a budget. They just go and spend the way they want to. There's two ways of looking at it. As a manager, it's absolutely brilliant. You can have an open checkbook, but for the longevity of the football club, who knows what happens when those guys pull their checkbook out.
Question, anybody?
I know you're playing on Tuesday night. Is there any insight into whether you're going to increase the length of training? Sort of 6:30 to 8:30 once a week doesn't seem long for you to get through your thoughts to your players.
The most difficult part of that is actually getting the facility that's available. Everyone trains on a midweek night. It's difficult to. Ideally, a Thursday night we train 8 o'clock to 10, which I don't personally like. It's the only time we could get. 10 o'clock at night is not ideal for lads that are back up for work the next morning. But we're having discussions internally about seeing what plan we can go in the future and trying to plan for the next couple of years down the line. And if that involves more training, then I think that benefits everyone at the football club. So as it stands for the next 4 or 5 weeks, for example, last night the players who played Tuesday, you can't flog the life out of them. They trained for probably about an hour last night, just very light stuff, just talking through things, and then the ones that didn't play done a bit of a longer session. But it's difficult, it really is, but we're dealing with it. We've just got to get on with it.
If you happen to own a patch of land about the size of a football pitch, get yourself a 4G down quickly, put some floodlights up, you'll be able to make a fortune. Because when we made the switch, when Paul came in from daytime training, which had been under Josh, to switch to Tuesday nights and Thursday nights, it was a hell of a job to try and find a facility, because you got the pitch, but we obviously want a bit of a classroom or a changing facility as well, and it was really, really difficult. In the end, we were able to get a deal with Solihull Moors to use their second training facility, and that's worked out really well, hasn't it, in terms of its location. But we were really up against it, and it is really difficult because every team that's part-time wants to train, and if you've got your own 4G pitch, and a lot of clubs do play on 4G, they're obviously training on themselves on those nights, so it was really difficult to make that change. One more question before we stop for a drink, and then that gives you all the chance to think of more questions, otherwise it could be a short night then, couldn't it? Another question before we break, anybody? Well, if not, I'll give you a chance to give it a little bit of thought, then and we'll go and have a little break and come back.
Nobody got a question for Jamie? He's bored up here. You got a question, Jamie? How's that after?
I'm waiting for the floodlight question.
Yeah, don't want any questions about floodlights, we're sick of that. Yeah, have a little break then everybody, and we'll come back afterwards and see if you think of a few questions, because there's plenty we could say.